playing Nintendo! So, okay. So something you might not know about me is I wasn't always a keyboard and mouse PC gamer. I used to be a console gamer. I used to own a PlayStation and an Xbox and a Nintendo, and I still do. I still own some of those things. I don't own Xbox anymore because I got a better Xbox, my computer. But for a long time, I played Nintendo consoles primarily. Wii, GameCube, N64, and this is something that I found recently after moving out. This is my Nintendo 64 controller from when I was a young child. Now, I haven't used it in a long time. It's very gross, very sticky. I hate holding it, actually. It's terrible. But I figured, while I'm at it, I'm moving. I got a whole wall of controllers behind me. I've been doing a lot of, other console mods, shell swaps, button swaps, things like that. So I figured I might as well, while I'm at it, do something with this.
Here we go!
For now, we're going to clean this thing off because it is disgusting. I'm hoping all of these screws just come out. I don't see why they wouldn't. I don't even know if I'm going to re-need them at all, so I guess here's what we're going to do. We're going to take that there, try to keep them corralled until I make some kind of progress. But, I mean, good news is they don't seem to really be stripped or anything. I don't see why they would be. I've never taken this apart, never cleaned it, never maintained it, which is, I mean, clearly, I've never maintained it. It's gross, it's sticky, it's ew. But, while I'm doing this, might as well go ahead, take it apart and clean it and all that jazz. There's probably a dead bug in here. I mean, that's not, uncommon for these old things. I guess while I'm at it, I want to talk about a little bit about the N64 and how much it means to me. So when I was a kid, we went to a flea market, and I bought an N64 from the flea market. It had Pokemon Stadium 1 and 2. It had banjo-kazooie. It had, pretty much all of the staples you could possibly want from an N64, honestly. Don't know how I got that lucky, but I spent a lot of time on that thing as a child, and finding the controller that I used to use, this was my favorite controller. I had a lot of, we had 2 or 3 different colors, and a third-party one, I don't remember, but this was my favorite. And it's been through hell. I had forgotten I even had this. The N64 was lost years ago in a house fire, so this must have survived, but, I mean, I don't know how. It looks like shit. But with all that said and done out of the way, there's 2 more screws in there that I need to get to. I wish I had a smaller screwdriver. The iFixit kit is nice, but it doesn't always hit everything it needs to. Okay, good, awesome. Moment of truth. Oh, look! Banzai! Everything's out. Everything is a-okay. So, with all that being said, we're just gonna finish taking this junk out. I know I'm gonna need all of this. This is weird. It's got 3D printing artifacts on it, but it's not 3D printed. It might just be how it was molded at some point. I don't really know. Well, it's a bowl. It's a bowl. I got a bowl. Okay. Sorry, I remembered that I'm going to need a bowl or something to put these little bits in to clean and, all that good stuff. So, while I'm thinking about it, now, actually, you know what? Wait, we're gonna pause on that. We're gonna pause on putting in the magic liquid, because there's still some more things I gotta take out. I gotta get the rest of those buttons out. So one thing about the Nintendo 64 joystick is that it grinds itself away, literally over years of use. And if you've ever played Mario Party, you know what that means. You did this thing here. You contributed to a lawsuit. You know that? You dirty little bastard. So anyway, that's one of the things I'm going to be fixing with this is the joystick. Come on. I don't know why I'm being so fragile. I know I'm not going to use any of this shit. Okay, so all of this, all of it, literally all of it, just about. Gonna take the membranes off just in case, but literally all of this, junk. I'm not using any of this anymore. Some real Ship of Odysseus type shit. But I'm gonna keep it. I might frame this. This looks really fucking neat. Actually, I'm probably gonna keep this. Cut the wire or something maybe. Use it for later. Who knows? But this is all we're keeping from this original controller. These membranes and these buttons. I don't even know if I'm gonna need the membranes yet, but you know, better safe than sorry. Don't want to do the funny YouTube ban thing and throw them away until I'm absolutely positive. Oh my god, that went everywhere. But now that we have the rest of these bits and pieces, we can throw them in there. Again, don't know if I'm gonna need them yet, but just in case. And then I'm just gonna give them a little bath. Gonna let them soak probably in just a second here, but before I do that, this specifically has been bothering me since I took it out because there's so much gunk in there, dude, and I can't stand that there is so much gunk in there, but it all appears to be coming off. Actually, all of these buttons have a lot of gunk in them. This has definitely had something spilled in it. If only I could tell you what. I hadn't used this controller in like 15 something years, I think. Probably last time I've used it was around, yeah, probably around 2010. And I have a stronger brush, but I don't know if a stronger brush would necessarily be a good idea, because, you know, a stronger brush is... It's like a copper wire brush, so it's gonna, like, scratch it to shit. I don't know if I want to do that. I might need more. I'm trying to submerge them. And I don't know if it's just if it really is just evaporating that fast or what. While I'm at it, I'm just gonna go ahead and soak these. I don't remember if I'm gonna need them, but you know, just in case. So I'm gonna set these over here. And now that they're over there, we're gonna move on to the main parts here that you can't really do a very good job at cleaning, submerging them, and just letting them sit for a while, right? So I've got this here, microfiber cloth. Oh, that appears to have melted from when I was maintaining the 3D printer with this same exact cloth. I don't have any scratch remover or anything either. That might be something I'll do later, but for now I don't have any scratch removal or anything. Also, this hole is so big. I've never thought about quite how big this board here might be. It is huge. Alright, so, first things first, we're going to just... Just going to wipe it down. Yep. First things first, we just wipe it down, and all that shit on the top surface layer should go away. Like, this crap here looks like somebody marked on it with a pencil at some point. Probably me. It is my controller. This isn't a controller I bought for this, so I'm just deflecting. Really, when I say, it looks like, oh, somebody spilled something all over it. No, that was me. I did that. Most definitely, I did that at one point. I mean, I had a sister and a stepsister at the time when I was doing this, so, you know, maybe it could have been one of them, but realistically, it was me. What? You didn't expect to see face in a desktop camera video? Give me a sec. I gotta get something to set this on. I feel like I'm gonna break one of these posts at any point now. Okay, looks like we're swapping some things. Okay. rag I was using, I'm going to just fold this over. This is going to be our bed, our table. I'm going to keep an extra over here. First, we're going to soak this. Just going to go around the edges and get some of this gunk out the edges. You may not be able to tell. There's a lot of junk in these edges, which is common for anything you hold in your hands. When you rub your hands against the sides, I mean, it's not uncommon for, like, gunk and skin cells and, like, spilled soda and shit to just seep into the sides here. It's not uncommon. And when that happens, you know, you're supposed to clean it off, but most people, I imagine, when they think about cleaning something like this off, they think about it like, oh, I'm just gonna take a rag with some water and just wipe it down, and that doesn't always work. But it is something you can use. I prefer isopropyl, because it'll get really abrasive and get really in there. But it doesn't look like it's gonna get completely clean. Not today, anyway. Not without some more heavy-duty stuff. And like I said, I don't know what oh, shit. Like I said, I don't exactly know what this has been through over the years, but I can probably tell you that it's been through quite a bit. Also, if you do something like this on your own, by the way, remember, it's old, it's probably brittle. You don't want to get too violent with it because it's, you know, it's old and it's brittle, and you're a big strong man, and you're stronger than this tiny baby plastic. Oh my god. The controller port. If I had more time, I would probably even think about maybe just, you know, painting this, actually. I mean, there's so much crap on it that I don't know what's worth doing. I mean, honestly, it's just this so much. So here's what I'm gonna do while I'm doing this. I'll be right back. You know, I would do the BAM another bowl thing, but it's full of hot water and dish soap. I think this might help to I think the hot water and dish soap might help a little bit to kind of take away the top layer of gunk that's in there. Because the alcohol is doing really, really well, but it's not doing everything that I was expecting it to do. And there might be more abrasive cleaning solutions that I could use, I suppose, but I don't know exactly what that would entail, and so I don't want to use anything that I've never used before and all that jazz. So here I am editing at like 11 o'clock at night on a Friday after getting home from work, and I've just remembered another solution you could use to clean one of these things, and that is Goo Gone. Goo Gone is really good for getting a lot of that gunk out of there. I didn't have any on hand. I thought I did, but I apparently don't. But if you've got something that's really, really hard to remove, like whatever this is, Goo Gone would probably be a good choice to also try. So I'm just going to try to maybe use the toothbrush to apply it liberally. And then I'm going to try to scrub it off. And the idea that I have is that if this is food or soda or something, all this yellowed plastic up near the top, don't know if you can really see that well, but if that is food or drink or, you know, whatever, then maybe the Dawn dish soap will help to, you know, take it away. Or, I mean, I don't know. I mean, to be frank with you, it's already looking a lot better than when I started, even though I know you can't see it very well, but it really is looking a whole lot better. And at least with the dish soap, I can see that, yeah, at least something's coming off here. Because I can see where the dish soap is yellowing with whatever it is in there. Ah, ha, ha, hell yeah. Yeah, I think this plastic has been stained at some point by some shit. I don't think it's coming out. Not without some help. Okay. Gotta be very, very careful. This is a copper wire brush. It's a little more stiff. Ah, that hurt. Don't know why I did that. It's a little more stiff, but hopefully, ideally, it might be able to abrasively cut away at the top layer of whatever. It looks like it may have worked a little bit, probably not as much as I would have liked. And I'm not too worried about the inside as much as I am worried about the outside, because the inside I can't see, and it would help to know that it's a lot more clean on the inside, I suppose, but it's not something that I'm gonna lose sleep over, knowing, oh, I didn't clean every nook and cranny of the damn thing. Man, if I had thought about it, I would have gotten Q-tips or something for this. I didn't think about it, and that's why I didn't get Q-tips. But if I had thought about it, I would have gotten Q-tips. Alright, gonna let that sit. That is a lot cleaner than when I started, and it feels a lot cleaner too. It feels more dry. There's not as much grease and things on top of it. I don't know how long grease persists over time, but this was very, very slick, and now it's much more, I don't know, textured, I guess, when compared to like this, which we have not cleaned yet. But this is way more slick than this is right now. But I'm gonna put that over there, because we still have a whole second part to do. Yippee! Alright, so this time we're gonna do it a little differently. I'm just gonna try to use the dish soap first, and then maybe finish with the alcohol, hopefully. And it looks like this is where a lot of that gunk that I was talking about earlier kind of clogged up, is right there on the sides. Okay, that spot is gone, and I know if you're still watching, you just got so relieved. If you had seen that earlier, you were like, you clean it. There's a big old gash on the top right there where the logo is, and I guess I'm just gonna have to be okay with that. I don't really feel like going through the effort of trying to even find out a way to maybe fill that back in. I just don't. That's definitely cleaner. It's not as clean as I want it to be, but you know, with gunk this old, you're just gonna have to be okay with some level of it, I suppose. Gunk on the inside or anything like that. But it looks like this is about where I'm gonna leave it, except there's a lot of dust in here. Icky, icky, icky. Ew, gross, gross. I don't like that because it's not natural. Right now I'm just trying to dry some of that bits of crap out of the nooks and crannies. There's still a lot of like soap and stuff in there. It feels mostly dry though, but that's pretty good for what it is. So we're gonna go back to where we initially started and get the buttons. Buttons and membranes time. With the shell done, we can kind of just scrub these off a little bit, because I do know for a fact we need to use the buttons again. There's a lot of gunk in that alcohol that wasn't there when I poured it. Makes me think that maybe I don't really need to scrub the buttons off all that well. Oh my god. Ooh, a big old glob of isopropyl just hit my eye. One time I like took a rag like this and I had filled it with isopropyl to wipe something down. And then I took the rag and I just put it over my face and committed a war crime against myself.
Here we go!
So, the main point of this video from when I planned it way back when is this. This is an 8-bit do N64 controller mod kit. See, comes with a joystick and, you know, board and all that fun stuff in there. So, we're just gonna crack it open and see what I can do with it. Also, my eye hurts a lot. I don't have a knife or anything, so I'm gonna try to use this deburring tool. Looks like it mostly went through. I can tear it now. Aha! So, controllers. Well, I mean, instructions, I should say. Okay, so it looks like I am going to need the membranes. But before I do any of that, we're going to go over what it came with, I suppose. So first it came with this little 8-bit do branded USB-C cable. I always like to have these. Companies always send them in different lengths, and so it's really, really nice to have them. There's this. This is the adapter to make it work with your Android or any Bluetooth device, whatever you got. This is the PCB, you know, you plug everything in there. This is why we didn't need the old PCB anymore, because we got a replacement, and so I can just use this from now on. And this is a Hall effect joystick. It doesn't do the grinding down thing that old N64 joysticks do. In fact, give me just a second. I mentioned a little bit earlier that the N64 joystick likes to grind itself down. So I want to show you kind of what that means. This is the original N64 joystick. So, if you take the original N64 joystick apart, and this is no fault of you or anyone else, this just kind of happens over time. Let's pull these tabs out. Ah, look at all that. So all of that dust that's in there, don't know if you can really make it out, but there's a lot of dust in there. You can kind of see it blowing away, but there's a lot of dust. And no matter what you do, no matter how well you take care of it, there's not really anything you can do about that, because that's just how the stick is made. This plastic bit grinds against something in here, and the whole thing just falls apart. I'm gonna keep this because I want to display this in a shadow box or something, but, you know, if you have no interest in doing anything like that, then don't. Just don't. So, wiping all that junk away and making a huge mess, you're left with just your parts. So, once you got your buttons and your membranes and, you know, once you got all of that, you're just gonna take the board and start putting it back together, which should be the least complicated part of this process, honestly. Well, maybe technically the most complicated, but okay, so you gotta be very, very careful then, because they've just soldered in the bits and then taped them down to hold them in place. Unfortunately, Kapton tape can occasionally be pretty strong. This makes me nervous, actually. Hi, it's me again. I'm just popping in to say that I'm about to fast forward to the part where everything is figured out and I know what I'm doing. I'm trying to do it backwards here, and I tried to do it backwards for a really long time. So, with all that said, just enjoy the rest of the show. Here's a new way we're gonna try it, the way that the manual recommends trying it, I suppose. We're going to get these screws. There we go. Screw that in pretty loosely so you don't strip the screw too much. Reach in here, grab the last screw. Here we go! Now the C buttons look like they only go in one way. I suppose that's to ensure that you put them in the right slots. So now we're going to take the start button. That in. Take the D-pad. I don't know that it matters which way it goes, but no, apparently it does. No. Wrong way. I'm putting these membranes in the wrong way. Yes, there we go. That's a much better fit. Okay. I forgot. The contactive pad is on the bottom, not the top. Okay. Contactive pad's in. Go. Then we can just slot that into place like so. There we go. That's a much easier. That was much easier to do. Now these are the tricky part. I think they're color coded, but I don't remember which one goes to what. Well, that would make it easier, I guess. They only go in one way. If I had done it this way instead the whole time, I could have been done a whole lot sooner. But I didn't. And so I wasn't. But that's okay. So I'm supposed to have... Yep, here it is. Forgot one little piece. I just made the whole process more complicated than it had to be again, that's all. That looks like that's about it. I guess we're just gonna screw it back together, I guess. Simple as pie. I don't believe that any of these screws were a different length than the other ones. I could be wrong. And I kind of wish I had more screws to begin with, because these are old. But again, I can't really see them. So I'm okay with them being older and grosser and all that jazz. There are two screws that are different, I just remembered. There are these ones in here. It works. So I guess the only thing to do now, put the rumble pack in, turn it on, however you do that. Oh, it's on. And go test it with the computer, which is obviously what I mainly bought this kind of stuff for. Without going into too much detail here, I did, try to play a few games on Project 64 using this controller, and for the most part, it was pretty good. I did have to reinstall Project 64 because the controls weren't picking up, but it wasn't any fault of the controller. For whatever reason, the emulator just wouldn't detect some buttons or use them, so things like Pokemon Snap just would not work. So all of that is fixed now, and I tried games like Banjo-Kazooie. The movement was completely fine. I was able to just run around and use it, and had no issues that weren't my fault, mistiming and things like that. I also played some Doom 64, and I have to tell you, if you are a masochist, this is the way to go. I don't really see how people play first-person shooters at any point in time with a controller like the N64 controller or like an Xbox controller that doesn't have some kind of gyro aim or, more finely tuned controls. And what's weird is that a lot of first-person shooters actually used a dual D-pad and analog stick type deal in order to be controlled, but Doom 64, for whatever reason, didn't seem to support that. Smash Bros. 64, a staple of any N64 collection, worked fine, it's playable. I'm not very good at it, but the controller, again, worked exactly as I would have expected it to. Last but not least, I went into some Miss Pac-Man Maze Madness. For whatever reason, almost none of the games that I tested or would frequently go to, as a child or even now, really ever used the D-pad, and I wanted to make double sure that the D-pad worked as well, because the D-pad, it kind of was a little squishy. I wasn't quite sure if it was in there right, but I can safely say now that it was definitely in there completely fine, and there's no issues. Overall, the mod kit is very, very simple to install. As long as you read the instructions and you do it the right way the first time, you can have this whole kit in about 10 minutes. Of course, I also went through the process of cleaning, and overall, the whole thing took about an hour to do. From the mistakes, having to learn to flip the controller over and assemble it a different way. Then there was all the cleaning and the parts I didn't know if I was going to need, and looking back, I wish I had actually rinsed the screws off a little bit. They're a little bit grimy, but it's nothing you're really going to be able to see. Mostly things like corrosion and caked on dust and stuff. And I would have also probably have liked to have thought about using Goo Gone. Maybe I could have gotten a lot of that yellow gunk that was in the cracks out, but regardless. And so, with all of that being said, I hope you enjoyed. That'll be all for me today, and I'll see you whenever I see you.